Yeah, g'day YouTube and everyone out there. So I thought I'd do a understanding of what the game really is and what really is going on and how we perceive it. Okay, so we have right now in this so-called reality a total conspiracy of the Illuminati. Everything changed from when we were little. We learned everything as we got older, etc., 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 right? Now, the question is, you have to ask yourself, was it purposely done, or did the Illuminati, etc., and all the powers to be actually make mistakes? Because some of these mistakes and some of these conspiracies are very well blatantly left for you to actually find. So, you go back to the training cartoons when you're a little kid, and for an example, my good brother, Antarctic Warrior, just put up a video the other day, and the intro part at the beginning had Thundercats, where they lifted the sword up to their head, where on the Thundercat sword was the eye that opened. So when they held the sword up to open the eye, it was actually in base where the third eye would have been on the Thundercat's head behind it. So you're looking at references from the one already dropping to use your third eye as a child. And you keep going into things all the way back like that. Now you can actually go all the way back from looking at that when you grew up in the 80s, and you can have a look now at modern day society at the programming that children are receiving, and you've still got things like that, like the animational cartoon, which is Monsters, and it has the one eye. See, the reference of using thy single eye to fill thy whole body full of light is still there. It's actually been given to us. It's been implanted in us as we were a child into the world when we were actually still spirit. Just like the same as the flat earth indoctrination or the round earth indoctrination. You're looking at when you were little, you were told it was round, fair enough, and you were told in science that all this shit existed, but you were also told right there in school, hey, do you believe the ancients used to believe that the world was flat? Now, why would they even want to implant that actual imagery into your mind just for you to actually know? You'd actually learn after that. If you left school, you would have found out all that crap anyway. But the reality is that what it is reverse psychological programming, because we are actually getting, as the sons of God, we are actually becoming the true sons of God. We're becoming from spirit as child of a spirit to the adolescent stage of spirit after thousands of years, and this is the lesson, this is the teaching. So we understand that each and every single one of us are just a player on the outside. It doesn't matter what you are on the inside, you're always a player on the outside. So the ones that are in the know, the ones that have actually discovered that consciousness, etc., the Masonic board, all that crap on the outside, they are well 100% in the know of what everything really is. And they're also 100% in the know that people don't listen to people. Now, we can get indoctrinated in school where everything's supposed to be real, but later on, the reason why there's conspiracies and everything like that is the fact that it has been left there as a psychological programming for us to get to the truth, because the only time that anyone believes anything is when they learn it for themselves these days, because everything's a conspiracy. So you go research a conspiracy, and because you're a truth seeker seeking the truth and you're doing your own independent research to find out the truth, you are then indoctrinating yourself with the own system belief programming. So you are believing what you are finding rather than someone else come forward and say, guess what? We live in a dome and everything's a simulation and we know nothing but electronic energy, etc., like that, right? Well, instead of having that, the powers to be, and also always the one, it doesn't matter about the fucking powers to be, because the one is always in control of the reality in the direction that it always goes, and the consciousness decides how we are supposed to train ourselves and learn for the next frequency of manifestation that we are to become. So we right now are looking around and we're saying, well, oh, look, NASA's lying to us. There's no space up there. But then you got to realize, now, if you were NASA and you had all that money and you knew that you were stealing that money for taxpayers' money only, don't you think you'd have enough common sense to actually make the images of Earth that you're faking each time blatantly the same, so people couldn't determine that it's different? But NASA don't do that. They make the images of Earth each time so blatantly different that they want to teach you that there is no Earth, but they just can't blatantly tell us because we're in a game, and the game is all about finding out who we are again as a spirit and bringing ourselves to the revelation of that the world is ending because the world doesn't exist. Life doesn't exist and death doesn't exist. All it is the persistent illusion of what we've been fed of what real reality is. And What all these conspiracies are doing is they are leaving bread trails for you and everyone else and me and everyone to find out who we are again without us actually going crazy. So you think right back in the day if they turned around and said, well, guess what? We live in a fucking dome. Then therefore we would have all panicked. Everyone wouldn't have been able to think of anything but the dome. But when you learn it for yourself, you're more concerned about why did they hide that we're in a dome. You get it? So you're not focusing on we're in that dome. How come we can't get out of that dome? And etc. like that. So it's just a indoctrination teaching of programming that they've left behind for you to follow as breadcrumbs. Like for right now, we're going into what? We're looking at the transgenders, like the males, Michelle or Michael Obama, etc. Stuff like that, which is once again showing the law of duality. Everything's showing duality right now. Everything is showing that it's all consciousness right now. And we are relaying... Everything that's been found that's conspiracy is always to do with judgment. See, when you're looking at all of this stuff, you've got to realize that when you look at a conspiracy, you can either look at it with judgment or with the love of creation and understanding that we are all those spiritual energy, light, electromagnetic beings that are on the outside that are actually all players in here. So you look at that and realize that we are all family, and what would family try to do? Everyone would be trying to awaken the other people, right? But because it's a game and the way we receive it, we use judgment inside the game. So if the Illuminati come along and they leave the all-seeing eye in trace for us right throughout history, you've come along and you've looked at it and you've said, oh, that's a fucking bad symbol, because they used to run around and say, oh, I'm in the name of blah, 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 and they used to say that in the name of Christ, and they used to kill people, etc., stuff like that, using the eye of providence, right? You get it? See, that's using judgment, because nothing physical really existed, remember? So how can anything be judged that really never existed? So you're looking at all of this stuff, including NASA, using judgment. Oh, NASA's going to try to do that. They're trying to do this purposely so they can fucking do this and trick us. But that's using judgment, saying that they're bad guys already. Now, if you remove the judgment of everyone, and then you say, why would they do that when there's no judgment involved, then you have unconditional love for all of creation, all of a sudden it becomes... wow, they're dropping hints to make us understand that the world is not really round. You get it? It's reverse psychology programming of the subconscious. It's a strategy that all the way back before we're told about whatever we're fucking told about in history, they figured out that this is a way to use psychological programming. This is do you remember George Bush all the way back in the day after 9/11? He said, this war is not going to be one of the physical, it's going to be one of psychological operations and shit like that. Remember that? Why would they say psychological operations? Do you get this? I mean, fair enough, we discover conspiracy, like I keep saying, but really, who left the conspiracy? Who put it on fucking line for you to go see and find out about? You get what I'm saying? Who fakes all this shit with NASA to purposely make it look so blatantly dumb that we know it's fake, but we're told it's reality? But who goes out of their way to fake these things? I mean, if they really wanted to scam us, they could scam us. They could actually put up imagery so fucking real to us that we wouldn't even be able to fucking break away from reality to the imagery that they give us. But they choose not to do that. They choose to actually show us what they want us to believe is real, but we know it's fake, for the simple reason for us to always get to the understanding of we are being told hints. So I thought I'd bring that up, how we actually are throughout history right now. Believe it or not, the powers to be are actually out there trying to help us. Everyone is trying to help us. Every single thing inside this matrix right now has been put here for us to understand as spirit, how to get to spirit again and reach from being a son of God. Reach from learning how to be a son of God as a child to become learning how to be a son of God as the adolescent spirit. So that's where we're going now. This is the evolution of the spirit itself. So I thought I'd chuck this out there so people can understand a bit better what's going on. There is no evil in the world. There is no pure in the world. Everything itself is still neutral. It's just the energy frequencies that you project, like judgment and everything like that is just the energy frequency. Remember that. There is no such thing as judgment, and everything is the consciousness energy. So that judgment energy is getting fed into the full collective consciousness energy, and that is then manifesting into the physical, which everyone is feeling. Judgment, 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 judgment. We create this physical reality as what we do as the mass collective through what we believe. So as soon as we believe that We give the Illuminati power. We said that they do all this. We said that they do all that. The fact and reality is they were probably nothing. We created them to be something when they were actually the small group that were out of the way that did what they did, and we decided to blow them up as being the fucking bad guy so we could get the full understanding out of all of it at the end of what we are doing right fucking now. Alright, thank you. Peace and love. Yeah, so I'll leave a bit more on that. I mean, like, for example, now everyone's noticing that in the ISS and everything like that, there's they have harnesses, etc., and they're being caught out blatantly by actually seeing the harness pulling shirts and everything. You don't think that they would have actually realised that that was on it? Do you think that they don't have the technology to actually show that as actually could have been real with hiding that fully by green screen, or the fact that they actually show green screen in the background and they're blatantly showing you that cables don't move, but there's a little bit of air moving up in front of them, so you can see that that's 100% green screen. So they're blatantly showing you that once again. Just like the moon landing was so fake, they presented that as being real. Once again, you can either use judgment to see it as one side, or you can take away the judgment of everything, put it at the neutral, and then ask again, why is that? You got to remember, everything itself is the creation of God. It is consciousness guiding us as energy to understand how to get to the next frequency of awareness. So what it is a set path of hints showing you understanding, but it's to get through the understanding of using judgment, as it says, love thy enemy. The only way that you can understand this is when there is no fucking enemy. You get away from judgment. You start looking at, oh wow, the enemy is actually giving us hints, because if the enemy didn't do these hints, then we wouldn't discover what is fucking real. So we have what we call the enemies out there all the time throwing hints our way so we can wake up. I mean, another classic example is the pyramid structure hand sign, or the Freemason hand signs, etc., etc., etc. All of these things exist in reality as a hint for you to get to understanding, to start looking at that stuff. It wants you, consciousness is trying to awaken us through understanding of awareness. Awareness is all about the different frequencies and highness of you getting to the awareness. The awareness is of being aware of what is around you. And this is how we are being trained through the one consciousness to understand how to love thy enemy. Because in reality, there is no enemy, because there is nothing but unconditional love for creation, because creation is God and we are all part of God. Alright, cheers. We'll leave a tiny little bit at the end. It's just the easiest way to describe the way the construct of the game is us as spirits are being detectives to find out the truth from what is given to us from the one consciousness that's always put in the direction of reality for us to learn how to become natural spirit again.